Everyone. We're back for number 2 of our series about the roadmap for sustainable business live series. Number 2 with this is Terry Earthwind Nichols, along with my co-host, the author of the book, and the subject of a very high priority that is on the lips of many these days, including Henry and I, who've spoke about climate change and how high in the SDGs that it should go. Henry, I'm excited.
Great, Terry. I'm very happy to be here. And you're absolutely right that this topic of sustainable business and climate change is high on the international agenda. I was, as we discussed, I was just invited yesterday to present a new book to the Vice Chancellor and Provost of University College London, who was visiting Hong Kong. This is one of the top 10 universities in the world, and he appreciated being presented with the book because he said this is now very relevant to the net zero planning and agenda they are currently developing at the university.
Fabulous, fabulous. It's not every day they just get the Vice Chancellor to hop by and have a actual, what they used to call where I grew up, grip and grin. You get to talk to each other in the physical form, which is fabulous. Yeah, I'm going to start this right off because, last week we talked a little bit about what business is for and what it really means to be a sustainable business. And I want to quote your book because this is really good. Another good definition of a sustainable business is that a sustainable business is a business that meets the needs of the present world without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Powerful, my friend. Powerful.
Yes, it is.
Because, like we've talked so many times, it's one thing to do good things today, but what's it doing to our generations to come can be much worse than rethinking what that good thing we're doing today. Any comments on that? I know this is a subject that you love, and can you further expand what you meant by making good decisions today and how it affects the future?
No, Terry, I agree very much with you, and I think that definition is a beautiful definition. That's why I put it into the book. The other, and really what we do today is very, very important. We must ensure whatever we do that we do not destroy the world for future generations, so that our children and our grandchildren can have a sustainable future to go to. And the earth is our only earth, and there's no plan B. So it is the same for businesses that they must consider when they develop their plans and sustainable business model, that they must consider what they are doing today in their businesses must not negatively affect the environment and the world for future generations. And also very important is, like they have said in the Brunswick report, that businesses must balance their impact on the planet, people, and profit, so that they can have a sustainable business model to operate on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hearken back to I'm a Native American man by heritage, and there's a saying in Native American indigenous cultures: we do not make decisions for today, but for 7 generations in the future. And that's powerful. The number 7 is very, very holy within the indigenous cultures in a lot of places in the world. And you jumped on the Brunswick report. So let's expand on that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is quite an interesting report. And if you can Google it and look it up, it's worth your time to take a look at. Henry, can you expand the Brunswick report? I think it's very relevant here.
Yeah, the Brundtland report was the first joint global effort to develop what sustainability and sustainable development will mean for the world. And I think, since the Brundtland report, the world has come to recognize how important sustainable businesses and sustainable development is. A very good example is at the recent COP26 in Glasgow. Over 1,000 businesses and CEOs around the world all agree that they should operate on a sustainable business model, and they should operate their business sustainably, and they should try to develop net zero plans so that they can achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. And that's very important.
Right. Now, folks, for those of you who don't know what COP and COP26 is, COP is the conference of parties, different countries and key players getting together to have a conference and to really talk about it. COP26 is the number 26 summit, which actually took place in Glasgow, Scotland, some years ago, where it's quoted that significant visibility and movement forward by the key players that were at that conference is quoted and restated and revisited quite regularly. And and I said Brunswick a little bit ago. I don't know where Brunswick got. As soon as you said Brunswick report, that was funny. I had to laugh at myself. That's the beauty of live, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And so, another thing that I think is important for us, and you and I have discussed it too as well, and that's the characteristics of sustainable business and organizations. There are some basic precepts that make a successful and forward-thinking business and organization. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think it is very important that when business try to operate on a sustainable business model, then they must adopt some of the best practices around the world. For example, some very important ones, and this is now being pushed by governments and stock markets all around the world, including the New York, Hong Kong, London stock market, is that they say companies who wants to operate on a sustainable business model should prepare or adopt the ESG, which is environmental, social governance standards. And that means that the board and the CEO of these companies should follow the ESG standard and the framework when they manage a company and develop their business plans and strategies. And in addition to that, they must prepare these ESG report on an annual basis to report on what are their environmental, what are their social, and what are their governance plans, so that these can be open to scrutiny by the regulators, investors, and the community in general. And in fact, these are now becoming very, very important reports from all these listed companies because active investors, environmental groups, and regulators are now scrutinizing these ESG reports to judge for themselves whether these companies are in fact operating on a sustainable business model basis.
Yes, very, very true. Just because government puts some pointers out there doesn't mean it's a negative thing. A lot of companies go, I don't want to mess with the government. All they want to do is take over my business. Not true. It has to start somewhere, the conversation. And with that, talking about a net zero plan for your business or your corporation is one thing. And saying that you have net zero plans in place for the future is great too. And thank you for doing that. I'd like you to consider, and Henry's going to talk about it now, making a pledge, putting your name on the document. Okay. Make your name and your company count, because those who are in the forefront right now will be remembered much longer than those who are abusing what's going on right now. They will be case studies. But you, ladies and gentlemen, you are the future. And, every so often we just got to look inside that heart there and say, you know what? I can make a difference. And Henry, you want to talk about corporate sustainability and the pledges and stuff like that. I love the way you say that in your book.
Thank you, Terry. Yeah, this is an important topic, and there's been a sea change, I must say, in recent years in the attitude. I think a lot of companies have taken the long-term view and are actively working to become sustainable businesses and to develop the effective climate plans and effective net zero plans so that they can reach carbon neutrality by 2050. And it is very happy for me to read, to see in the COP26 in Glasgow that over 1,000 companies actually signed and the Glasgow Climate Pact and agree that they should adopt these commitments as part of their Paris Agreement commitments. So that's good. I think companies are also no longer in the past. Some of the management in some of the companies has looked upon climate investments and sustainability investments as an extra cost which can affect their bottom line. But many companies are coming to realize now that these are essential investments and expenditures which are part of their license to operate. And in fact, they have also come to realize that operating a company on a sustainable way actually is good for their business, the business and their profitability on a long-term basis. Yeah. And then some of these, and in fact, some of the major investment report that has been done recent years, and I've talked about that in the book, like BlackRock has actually done a big survey to find that companies who operate sustainably with good ESG plans and strategies are actually operating on a more profitable basis than other companies who are not adopting these frameworks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, when you get married and start a commitment to another person and little persons come along, that doesn't make you a parent. Commitment to those children to be raised by your example in a good manner so that they get the basic skills they need to make good decisions later in life. Now, how they ultimately turn out is really not your responsibility. It surely feels good when, like my daughter, she turned out fantastic, And but there's others that don't. Well, the same thing is true for businesses and stuff. Just because you have a business and you make sure that you use recyclable cleaning stuff to clean your building doesn't make you a net zero person or business. It's a commitment to your staff. It is a commitment to their families. It's a commitment to your communities. For international corporations, that's a lot of communities. It is a commitment for lifelong forward example leading movement. And yes, it costs a little bit more now. It's an investment. It is not a cost. Soon as your board of directors understand that that is not an expense line, that is an investment line, the mentality of the corporation and its leadership begin to shift. Henry, what do you think about that?
No, this is absolutely very true. And we can see that a lot of companies are coming to recognize that. And there are many, many good examples of leading companies around the world which has actually actively adopted and managed a company as a sustainable business. And they become leading businesses in their sector. And people actually respect these businesses, and customers will prefer their product to other companies who doesn't operate on a sustainable basis. A very good example is Patagonia and the sustainable clothing company. And, they have run their company on with sustainability and sustainable development very, very high up on their business agenda. They have sourced their clothing supply from sustainable sources, and customers are now very much preferring their clothing to other outdoor clothing suppliers. So this is good for the business and good for the customer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the future workforce, they all walk around with one of these. And they talk to each other, and they are connected, and they remain connected. And I was just going to bring up one of your case studies, which is Rosa Macario, and as the CEO of Patagonia, is an example that others need to get to emanate from. From the beginning, they give 1% back of the corporate profits. 1%, okay? 1% is no big deal. But when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, that adds up, okay? And it's responsible. It is responsible leadership. It's about being a community leader. And then he's getting ready to retire. So what's he do? He turns it over to a nonprofit organization to run it, okay? You guys in the Patagonia company, you're doing it right. Keep doing it. Here's a team that's going to come in and help you with the everyday, day-to-day leadership and those kinds of things. And, governments, doesn't matter, local communities all the way up to federal or international governments, they're helping out companies with working on financing, special financing. They're looking to invest in, investors are looking to invest in corporations that are going towards net zero, and they're committed to it. And again, Patagonia is an amazing example. First quality, always been first quality stuff, and both in the outdoor and the sports arenas. I've always looked up to them. I've got a couple of Patagonias around here somewhere. And that's about what the future's all about. Henry?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a very good case example, and that's why I put it into the book, that on Patagonia, together with a few other case studies like TomTom in the sustainable navigation, which is another very important area around the world, or because mobility is at the transport sector is just such a big contribution to carbon emission globally and fossil fuel, So anything we can do to improve energy efficiency and to be able to get to A and B in a more efficient and sustainable way, this will help to reduce emission from the clothing, from the fashion sector, from the clothing, from the mobility sector. And these will all contribute to reducing global warming and reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, nobody wanted that horseless carriage anywhere around. It's smelly. They can't get around. It's not good for the environment. But yet we had livery stables on every other corner of a major city, and they stink. Okay. There's a lot going on there, and they've gone by the wayside, but yeah, that's true. There's a lot of jobs 100 years ago that are no longer in existence. And there's a whole lot of jobs 100 years before that are no longer in existence. But that's growth. That's progress. That's moving forward. When in today's society, coming to you live right here from my PC around the world, or I can just as easily pick this up, put it on a tripod, and do the same thing. And that's power. That's connectivity. And yes, Henry and I like to talk about, being in physical proximity to each other. That's true, because we are emotional units, and touch is part of our world. When a baby comes out, baby wants to touch everything. Okay. Well, that never changes. The old person sitting on their last wishes still want to touch somebody. Okay. So that has not changed. It's not going to change. But the way we touch people is changing. And when we're more responsible, Generation Alpha and the rest are moving forward to make things happen in a positive way. Henry, any more comments on today's discussions?
No, it's been a great discussion, Terry. I think we touch on a very important topic on businesses having to build themselves into a sustainable business. And I really like the definition we talked about, that I've talked about in the book, that, sustainable business should adopt all the business practices and business strategies so that they can run their business in a way that does not destroy the environment and the earth for future generations. Because we've only got one earth, and there's no plan B.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping our live. We're watching on the comments as they pop up. And we thank you very much. Our next one will be in 2 weeks. And we're going to take a look at the big picture, the international policy developments and how that all gets put together. Thanks for stopping in and listening to us and watching the recording. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye.